Hey guys, happy Wednesday. Valerie Hunt, Runner X, Ask Me Anything. So I always love these days of the week because I get to talk to you guys and I kind of feel like we're talking back and forth. So I do have an exciting announcement. I'll make it now and then at the end. So this month we're going to have, I think before the end of the year, we're going to have at least 2 or 3 Zoom coaching availabilities for you. And you're going to have to sign up. Get on our list if you're not on our list. The best way to get on the list is take the free quiz online, runrxquiz.com. And the fun thing is, I talk to you guys, I'm always showing you videos, I'm answering questions, but people always ask me, what's the difference of coming into the membership and actually working with you? Well, come experience it. There's no other experience than someone watching you move. And of course, I'm basically going to go over the pose to fall on the pole, which by now you've probably heard me say over and over. But have you had somebody watch you do it, right? All right, so that's my fun news. If you have a question and you want to just comment it, I can see, and I will go read it and answer it for you today. So if something comes up, just ask it. So I've got 2 really good questions that did come through already, and one of them was, someone told me they just read a book, and the book was about running faster and running injury-free, which, yay. And he said in the book, the author said to push, and he said, and then you're always saying pull. So it's, it's hard to know, right? Why should I believe you? Was kind of the way he said it. Not in a wrong way, in a way of understanding why, which I love, right? So let's first talk about push and pull. And I actually have this ball to help. So just so everyone knows that it's really a common thought in running to push. And people even talk about the push-off, like, ooh, look at that push-off, right? I mean, it's like in sprinting, we see push-off. So the challenge becomes, what we think we see, we mimic. Like, we actually start doing what we think we see. And this is how most of us run, is by mimicking. So for example, let me put this ball here. It's not going to hold. There's my soccer skills, just teasing. All right, so if I stand here with this ball behind me, right, and I push off the ground, so I'm going to be in my pose, my running pose, but let's say I'm not in my running pose, I'm just standing here about to start my race. We'll just go that route. And the guy goes, clock's going, you guys ready? Here we go, 3, 2, 1, go, and you push. You are taking your leg back. So then we're like, okay, when we see sprinters, right, when we see people that are lined up for a sprint, say, put this back, here's my sprint, my block. Now, first of all, keep in mind the block is on the ground, it's not going to move. So perception-wise, what we think we see is the person pushing the block back. But guys, I can tell you that this will never take your body forward. Gravity is acting. They actually have more body weight on this front foot, so what happens is when they let go, they fall and they pull. Are they taught push? Do we see the foot push? You think you do. But if you're standing here, you guys could try this, and you just stand here and push into the ground. Push, and see what happens. Just push, right? And you'll say to me, I went forward, and you did, but where did your leg go? Your leg went behind you. So then the only way to bring the leg to you, once it's here, it's going to be active hamstring and then hip. Everybody runs through the pose. So we think we're pushing. By the way, it feels really good. Pushing feels good. It's powerful. It's push. I was taught to push too. So pulling is already happening. So pushing is, and I'm talking about active, like actively on purpose pushing, not byproducts that happen in running due to just natural responses. And that's the guy that told me about reading the book, so much of what he talked about was the landing of the foot. Who cares? If you let go of landing the foot, and instead when you feel your body weight on the ground, you respond by pulling, you're going to use muscle elasticity, you're going to use the natural response of your hamstring, you're going to save so much energy in your knees. Because if I literally, when I run, only have to use 10% active muscle to fall and pull, think think of how much easier that is on your joints, right? When you watch a runner, by the way, like a sprinter, a really elite runner, even the fast marathoners, whatever distance, don't they look smooth? Like when they're running, they're not like, they're not mechanical. Like you can see their bodies in a rhythm. Their bodies working together. That's what I want for you guys. So the push and the pull, the problem is you can push all you want, and it does feel powerful. The challenge is if that's your intent when you run, your body goes this way first because you're pushing, and that's what pushing is, it's jumping. So I'm going to go up, I'm going to go up, and then what? I have to come back down. If instead I just let gravity take over that aspect of the travel and just free fall, pulling is a natural response. And when I say that, I mean if someone came up behind you and pushed you, like someone pushed me, that pull, you're born with it. It's a reflexive response of the hamstring. If you push and like someone came behind you, you wouldn't think, you know, you fall and you pull. The challenge is we don't talk about pulling. And so it's a new word, it's a new thought, it's a new perception. So, you know, it's not to challenge anything, but to help you. Challenge yourself, try it. I'm telling you, if you just feel it for just a second, it makes so much sense. To pull only 2% of your body weight off the ground instead of trying to push all of your weight and put all of that effort into wasting it to go behind you, okay? Sorry, I thought someone had a question. All right, so that's my pushing answer. So then we're just gonna change, and pull is the opposite, right? So here's the thing too. If I push, what's the opposite of push is reach. So if I push off the back, for every action you have a consequence, right? So if I push off the back, watch, your front foot's gonna reach. So if I'm thinking about pushing, my front foot thinks it's supposed to reach because everything's a consequence. Versus if I'm simply falling and only responding to the ground, only one action, pulling. Again, saving my joints because if I do 2 jobs, push, reach, you're fatigued, but it's muscular fatigue. It's not cardio. It's a different effort, okay? So that was the first question, that push versus pull. So I want you to try it and you tell me. You can even comment, oh wow, that was really interesting. That I felt when I just fell forward, my feet really do come off the ground. There's just, you know, it's funny, it's using the hamstring in a way you've never used it before. I hadn't either, guys. When I first started pose and I was taught how to pull, just like you guys, I've been doing butt kicks, right? I've been kicking that hamstring and you're like, ooh, that's powerful. When I do this, you're like, hey, I can really feel that hamstring. Well, then if I go run like that, guess what? It's like I just put a 30-pound weight on my ankle and I'm doing hamstring curls for my run. We don't want to do the weight room exercise out on the road. We want to, on the road, use the hamstring in its natural, responsive way, which we don't train, just because we don't know. But it happens. So start to shift that mindset, too, on muscles. I don't want to go in my run. I want to be effortless in my pull. I want to be able to hold my body forward and pull my foot. It's really a lot of fun. All right. Second question was, okay, I'm trying to pull my foot really high and my knees, and I'm really struggling. My calves are sore. I feel like I'm working really hard, and I'm certainly not getting any faster. So here's a couple of things. One, first, let's talk about the knee. The knee itself in your run is actually pointing down because the hamstring, right, when your hamstring closes the leg, which is what the hamstring does, the thigh bone is pointing down. Here's the thing. So when you're on the ground and your body falls forward, your foot is going like this. However, your body's going that way. So what you have to realize, I'm going to separate my feet, is that visually we're going to see the leg traveling like this. So my knee traveled with my body really in the same spot, but visually it did actually go forward. It didn't go up though. And it's interesting because if it does go up, that means you're using your hip flexor. So that's important. In order for my hamstring to be able to finish the pull, the thigh bone actually stays down, femur points down. but everything travels forward. So if someone's a sprinter, I have this piece of chalk because I wanted to go through this height of pull. If someone, say, is doing a sprint, I'm not a sprinter, but if I was, and I was really falling, just so you guys understand how the hamstring works. If I, think of which leg to do. We do this leg. So I'm going to fall and pull. So my foot like landed to here, see? But if you watch someone sprinting, when they first come onto the ground, their foot might be like this high. That's not them pulling their foot to that height. That just may be what happens, but when they get to pose, they're back here. This is really important. If I just fall, like, I don't know, let's say a 10-minute mile, fall, pull. So look where my foot is, like at the base of my pants. So literally the pull height, look at the difference in pull height, sprint, tempo, right? The difference though is really important is that you yourself are only pulling your foot up from the ground. So what's fun with running is once you understand what my job is, then when you start to practice, realize that when we practice, I'm asking you to pull your foot all the way to the sprint line, because that's full pose. In running, you really only ever have to break contact with the ground, but you've got to practice really exaggerated just to develop elasticity, develop my ability to pull really quick. That's what the drills are for. So if you guys watch my feet, I've always got some weird hoppy thing going on, right? And it's really just for you guys to develop elasticity. And if I'm feeling pain, then my first thought should be, I'm on the ground too long. So here's a fun little thing to try for all of you guys. And when you're first practicing, for a lot of people, when I said this yesterday, just I was having a conversation with someone, the pull is my job, and it's the action. So if nothing else, I go for a run and I just think about my job, which is pulling my foot up, you're probably going to have a different feeling in your run, but it really, ultimately, probably a better run, because now you're thinking of running. Then you'll come back and say, it was a little bit choppy. I understand that. That's the falling. So something I want you guys to get comfortable with is instead of thinking I need to work harder with my feet, I want you to get comfortable with I need to make sure I'm holding my upper body in a good spot. So this is kind of a fun drill, and we'll finish with it. So start with your knees bent for just a minute. And I want you to just do 5 hops in place, but not jumping, just a hop, just hops, 5 hops. So 5 hops, and right after you finish the 5 hops, I want you to let your body just fall forward and do nothing. So this is going to help you feel that natural pull response. So here we go, 5 hops. Now just let your body fall forward. And you should have felt a pull. So now I'm going to add on to that to help you feel what the pull feels like. We're going to do 5 hops, 5 pulls in place. So right here, 5 hops, 5 pulls. Up, 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 up. Now again, I'm just going to stand here. You're going to fall forward. Feel what happens. You see that? Up, up, up. Right? Let's try that one more time. This time, no pause. You're going to do 5 hops, 5 pulls in place. Fall forward and let it happen. Here we go. 5 hops. 5 pulls. Now just let your body fall forward. Up, 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 up. It's like you let the wheels keep spinning. First you start the spin. Up, 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 right? You can start your own spin if you want. Then how do I go? You gotta let it happen. That's where we get the challenge, by the way, is that free fall. And that's the fun of working with a coach. Because I think for some of you guys, for me too, especially in the very beginning, 1, feels goofy, not sure what I'm doing. Second, I'm hearing none of what you're saying and anything around me. The books don't say that I read. No one in my community is talking about it. Just so you know, though, it is really a valid method. It's a pose method of running. I've been coaching it for 20 plus years, been working with the founder of Pose for 18. It's the official running of the U.S. military. I mean, it is amazing. It's the only credited running for physical therapists. And I tell people, like, it's the challenge with it is in the simplicity, right? And then you have to do all the other things around it. Like if you have not yet gone through the reboot on YouTube, the Runner X Reboot, it's a really simple 30-day program that takes you through a rotation of skill, strength, self-care, because you have to do all three. And skill is, of course, practicing the action, practicing the pose, practicing the fall. Strength is, I term that with elasticity. It's your ability, one, to hold your body weight, two, to use elasticity, develop the ability to get that foot off the ground a little bit quicker. And then, of course, self-care. Like, all of us have to stretch or do mobility or whatever it is. So it's putting it together in a way that it gets you in a rhythm into how you practice for your running. And most people forever haven't ever put a drill in their run, right? Most people will like, maybe I'll stretch. But when we talk about doing warm-ups for running, for most runners, it does not include warming up actually for running, the movement of running. And then you have to go into, well, what is running? So see, it always goes back to, if you just go through the basics and start to get more and more comfortable with what is pulling, what is pose, you know, and then falling. What? Anytime you see a wall and you start to get comfortable with falling, it's going to help you so much when you're running to be able to, I call it the letting go. It's the free. It's when you see, when people say to you, man, I went for a run and I felt like I was flying. All of that, it's that connection with gravity, but it's like we don't know how to word it. So when you start to connect with it, all of a sudden when you're running, you're like, oh, do you feel it? I feel a little, there's that runner's high. I feel a little lighter, my feet feel a little lighter. I feel like I can go a little longer. I mean, it's a lot of fun, but yes, you gotta go through that practice. Anyway, I hope to see you on one of the live Zoom coaching classes. It would be great, so I can help you with your running, with your pose, fall, pull. If you have not yet taken the quiz, again, it's just a really nice way, especially if you've got like some kind of twinge, my calf, my shin, or whatever. It helps you just to, gives you a skill, strength, and self-care tip to get you started on your running. So have a great week. Remember, if you ever have a question, you can post it on the comments here. You can go through the website. And you can ask questions on the YouTube. People do that all the time. So go through that reboot. All right, guys, have a great week. See you next week. Thank you.